everybody.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming.
This microphone's up for you.
Oh, okay. Well, I usually don't use a microphone, but if I have to use a microphone, I'll be glad to use a microphone. Thank you all for turning out. In the spirit of representative government, I consider myself half of that process, and my 3 3/10 million constituents the other half of that process. And in order to represent people in Washington, you have to have dialogue with your constituents. This is the best way to do it. If this is the only way that it was done, I wouldn't communicate with very many people. So I rely upon all of you and people that aren't here to email us or use postal mail or use the telephone. Remember, if you leave your name and address, we'll answer your point of view on paper and things like that. Now, this is the first meeting today. I go from here to Clarion, and then to Humboldt, and then to Fort Dodge. And then tomorrow morning, I go back to Washington, D.C. If you wonder what I'm doing here on a Friday, most weekdays I'm in Washington, D.C., but the Senate's not in session. So you know I'm not playing hooky for my job there. I'm going to, since we have such a large crowd, I'm going to take one question from each person and try to cover as many questions as I can. And I'll try to give as short of an answer as I can so I can get to as many questions. And some of you may come not to ask questions, but just to tell me what's on your mind. And that's perfectly all right. I'll be glad to listen to you and say thank you, and then move on to the next person. I thought maybe I would say to you, I'm going to be with you for an hour, and then I'm going to go to the small room back here, and we've got a lot of press and media here. And I always reserve 15 minutes before I move on to Clarion or the next stop or the next stop for advantage for the press to ask me questions, get messages out that they want to get out that they consider very important. And then I would just take a few minutes to tell you some of the things that I'm trying to pursue in Washington, D.C. I'm just going to mention 2 things so I don't take time away from your questions. One would be finally, hopefully, get a 5-year farm bill, because we were supposed to do that in '23, didn't get done, so the 2018 5-year farm bill is turning out to be a 7-year farm bill, and I think farmers deserve some certainty from that, and I hope we can get it done. I think we're about 18 months ahead of the last Congress, because we have a bill from the last Congress out of the House of Representatives that was a very bipartisan bill. And then we have a Democrat framework and a Senate Republican framework. So we're about 18 months ahead of where we were 2 years ago and didn't get the job done. And then the other one would be to get prescription drugs down. Pharmacy benefit managers are the middle people between you as consumers and the pharmaceutical company. And nobody knows what they do. I wish I could tell you what they do, but the whole purpose of the legislation is to get that information out to the public, not only to protect you as consumers, but the federal government buys more drugs cumulative than the rest of the country probably put together, and we ought to save the taxpayers' money if we can as well. So that's, we have 3 bills in on that from the last Congress. They haven't started over yet in the new Congress, but there's about 65 to 70 people in the United States Senate that are sponsors of one or more of those bills. And it seems to me we ought to be able to move it and get drug prices down. Now, the the agenda is yours, either to tell me and I'll listen, or to try to answer your questions. Go ahead, ma'am.
The Federal Department of Education was created in 1979 by Congress, including a youthful Iowa representative, Chuck Grassley. Do you now support an all-out siege and dismantling by the run-amok MAGA administration?
If it comes to a vote in the Congress of the United States, which it will probably not come for a vote, so I
You know the Constitution?
Because you got 6.6 million from Elon.
You swore an oath to us.
I'm answering this person's question,
We'll answer it.
But why wouldn't it come to a vote?
She speaks for a lot of us.
okay? I'm the only member of Congress out of 535 today that voted against establishing the Department of Education, September 1979. So obviously I did that because I thought that education's not spelled out in the Constitution as a responsibility of the federal government. And I think with 50 different states, with our country so geographically vast and our population so heterogeneous, that the best education policy is made at the local and state level. So that's why I voted against it. Now, so obviously, if it's not going to come to a vote in the United States Senate because it can't get 60 votes in the United States Senate to get to repealing it. So, but if it did come to a vote, obviously I would have the same opinion now that I had in 1979.
Oh, wow.
And it's got nothing to do with the,
It was not near as good as this.
it's got nothing to do with the programs. So let's go to the programs that you might be concerned about that would be affected if the Department of Education is going to happen to it, what Trump said yesterday is going to happen to it. It can't affect the guaranteed student loans, it can't affect the Pell Grants, it can't affect the special education programs we have, it can't help to hurt the education programs we have for low-income people, because they're the law of the land, and the Congress of the United States is going to continue to
Wait a minute.
Get off your hands and vote.
Isn't the Department of Education the law of the land?
Oh, it's Republican Party. Let him talk.
Okay, so then, just in case you're wondering, will those programs go away with what Trump's doing? The answer is no, and he has said that. Because they're the law, they are the law. And just as an example,
You can't say law for him and not law for us. You can't
So I
do
think
that.
we need to talk about the rule of law.
Yes.
Nobody trusts that Trump will
Boy,
actually follow the rules. I have a question.
How about the quorum?
you can ask your question.
Okay, so I don't feel that Trump is actually, so rule of law, the judicial system, right, we have a separation of powers. The judiciary decides what the law is based on their interpretations of what you've written, right?
Yes.
So how is it that then when judges make decisions that all Trump does is say, oh, they should be impeached, and he is making us afraid to stand up for our own rights because we're going to then be sent to El Salvador into a high security.
And he is right.
To speak.
El Salvador was
And we're
really
gonna follow his law?
Judges' rulings should be abided by.
That's not what you said.
enforce it.
Judges' rulings should be abided by.
If they don't.
And I read statements in the newspaper that Trump was going to do the same thing, but he was going to appeal. And so
And how much does that cost us?
there's a hundred.
How much does
does
There's-
that cost us?
And how much will it cost us to bail the farmers
Okay,
out?
Let him answer.
Well, we are.
I'm
It'd be
gonna-
nice.
Who are you?
He's had 66 years in office.
There's
We have a
120,
right to talk.
Hey, I got the same right you do. Let him
Now keep
answer.
it going. You sound like a-
there's 127 cases filed
He does.
compared to about a dozen with previous questions. So what you learn in 8th grade civics, the checks and balances of the government are going to continue to work. That's the
It's not working.
Why are you allowing Elon Musk, who was not appointed by anything with the advice and consent of the
You can bring
Senate?
every one of us down. Have you seen us in here?
Congress isn't doing their
Have
job.
access to our personal data.
Yeah.
Why
Think
do
you're doing everybody.
into everything that, he hasn't even been vetted for anything. In fact, he's still a citizen of not only the US, but of Canada and South Africa. I mean, why is he the number one person that is just going through and overhauling everything by cutting everything?
And why is Congress allowing
Seems
that?
to
Pays
me,
no taxes.
it seems to me that what you're seeing going on today is what I've heard 2 Democrat presidents say since I've been in the United States Senate.
Wow. This is not Republican, Democrat. This is about us, the
I'm
people.
talking to you.
You're here to talk to all of
I said, I think that they're following what I saw 2 Democrat presidents say since I've been in the United States Senate.
Which is too long.
1994,
That was a nice.
Clinton
limits.
came to
Term
the
limits.
Congress of the United States, and he said, as a result of the 1994 election, the era of big government is over. And then in 2011, I heard President Obama give a speech that we got to get rid of the waste, fraud, abuse in government. We can't tolerate it. So that's what's happening again.
That's collectively, not just us.
Everyone's okay with fraud, but you find fraud by actually looking for it. You don't find it by just saying, okay, I'm gonna cut off your funding. You can't, that's no way of finding fraud.
Right.
I mean, let's
That's
face it,
right.
it's Social Security fraud done by doctors and nurses who file fraudulent claims against, Medicaid, right? So why are we going after them? Why are we actually cutting the access to the, money that the people need? Why are you assuming that people who are receiving benefits are in the wrong?
That's right.
Again, addressing you.
You're
Give you an
addressing all of
example of $20 million in the Defense Department that since Trump's been president, and I asked him to do away with the Agency of National Assessment, which is supposed to assess annually the needs of our national security, and they haven't been doing it since 2013, but they've been assuming $20 million. They announced that they were going to do away with the Agency of National Assessment within the Department of Defense. I think I ought to go on to other people now.
In the back?
Senator, may I ask a question? Senator?
Yeah, obviously the Senate and the House has the power of oversight of the government, of the president and people in his administration. It seems to me that Trump and his people are moving very rapidly toward a dictatorship and an oligarchy. That's a very, very serious matter. Our country is in serious jeopardy, it seems to me, cutting Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and a whole lot of other programs, even though they deny they're going to do it. And firing people at will and just randomly isn't solving anything.
Right.
That's right.
Waste, fraud, and abuse is Congress.
Statistics,
Go
you
ahead.
gotta know what those numbers represent.
But my question is, what are you doing regarding oversight? All the concerns, but I've not heard anything from you or any of the Republicans in the Senate or the House for that matter. And, so you have the power of oversight. So the courts are doing their job and doing it really well to rein in Trump and others. But we need to have the Senate and the House also providing oversight and President for decades. You know it's your job, but we are depending on you and the others to help save democracy.
You speak up.
I will address your question. I think I gave you one example of $20 million in the Department of Defense at my office. I think I've got another thing. I've got an investigative staff on, and we've got 33 investigations going in. So I'd have to have you, I can't give you all 33 of those investigations.
Give us one.
But well, one of them would be the waste in the EPA as an example.
What you just said,
Okay.
20 million.
Democracy, the waste in the EPA.
Yeah, go.
I mean, what are you gonna do and what are you doing to save democracy? This is.
That's right.
Let's see. I'd like to listen to you.
And in fact, as I've written you before and emailed you, and you've always responded, and I appreciate that, and I honor you for that.
Yes.
I think I'm frustrated because of that civics lesson you talked about. That we have 3 branches of government that run this country and determine our policy on the big issues. Are we going to turn Canada into the 51st state? Are we going to take over the Great Lakes? Are we going to impose tariffs throughout the world and hurt our Iowa manufacturers who happen to sell $5 billion every year of farm equipment, road equipment to the Canadians?
Used to.
If you look at Gomaco from Ida Grove, Iowa, they have 5 locations in Canada to sell pavement equipment.
Not anymore.
Together with Pella Windows, together with Vermeer, who has a dozen. And my question, sir, and I think what's on our mind here, is where is Congress?
Yes.
Members of Congress. There's only one president. It's 535 to 1. When does
16 billion,
Congress act? When does your committee and the Judiciary Committee send a subpoena to Elon Musk?
That's right.
So you can do your job, because nobody knows in this country what the hell is going on with Mr. Musk and how he is apparently have his own agenda, in my view, to ruin the country. When does he tell you?
To you, Article 2 of the Constitution says that the executive power of the federal government is vested in the President of the United States. Truman wanted to make that
We don't care about it.
Truman wanted to make that such a strong statement that he had a sign on his desk says the buck stops here.
It goes
So
to his
everything,
pocket.
everything that goes on in the executive branch of the government is a total responsibility of Trump and the people that he has appointed and be confirmed by the United
Thus,
States
what is
Senate.
Congress for?
And,
He can do everything by executive power.
And they made very clear 2 weeks ago at a cabinet meeting that only the cabinet members could carry out any decisions that Trump wanted to carry out.
That's not happening.
Elon Musk.
That's not happening.
And so remember, the buck stops in the Oval Office.
Does the buck stop with Charles Grassley?
I won't be able to take all the questions, but I'm gonna take as many as I can.
Senator Grassley, as chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee during President Trump's 2 impeachment trials, in spite of overwhelming evidence, you voted twice to acquit him. Since taking office for his second term, he is dismantling our government, as many people here have been talking about and are concerned about. And that's in violation of our laws that Congress has created and in violation of the Constitution. My question to you is, why do you believe that President Trump is above the law? And I'll just reinforce what other people have been saying here. Why have you not spoken out for it?
Yeah.
We refuse to do your job, and we have trusted you with our votes. We have sent you to Congress for decades. We expect you to follow through for what we Iowans really want our government to do, and not to have a federal government that is being dismantled by this President Trump and Elon Musk. Please stand up for what's right and do your jobs.
Your statement gives me a wonderful opportunity to explain to you that constantly, every time I go from my office to the Senate floor, there's journalists not by the dozens, but by a couple dozen, that are there to ask me questions all the time. And I take time to answer their questions. And I never see anything in print that I ever say to them. So I have to assume that you don't get a chance unless you do a vast amount of reading, that you'd ever see anything that I say to the journalists in Washington, D.C. So this is why on a weekend I put out something on my website called The Scoop that carries all the things that I have said or speeches I give on the floor of the United States Senate or press releases, because I can't count on the news media to tell you the things that I say. To make sure that I communicate to Iowans, I do 5 things every week, and then some things I do once a month with the small radio stations of Iowa, with the Des Moines Register, the Cedar Rapids Gazette, other newspapers, Radio Iowa, and also for agriculture, as many as agriculture journalists that want to ask me questions. So I try to make myself very, very available to the journalists. But if you don't read about it and know what's going on, I put it out so you can read it the best way I know to put it out.
Sir, I do read The Scoop. You send it to me frequently in an email. But I'm going to repeat the question to you. Why do you feel that President Trump is above the law?
He's not above the law. Way in the back there. Yes, you.
Okay. You know, when you first were elected, you were pretty independent. That was decades ago.
He is awesome.
Number 2, it seems like you've become a very good foot soldier for the right wing and dominant. I didn't serve, but we are a military family. My dad served in the Pacific and tromped through the jungle for 4 years. Come home with jungle rot in his feet the rest of his life. Okay? And then Trump cuts the Veterans Administration. Really?
Right.
And you stand by and you say and do nothing. We're sick of it.
We want you back. We want you back to the grassroots.
Trump, he seems to have a love fest with Mr. Putin.
Oh,
He does. That's what
And his
scares me.
attitude is, Trump's attitude is basically, oh, let's put in tariffs on, to hell with Canada and Mexico and the Ukraine and the European Union. Really? Those countries fought and died with us in World War II and many other wars. And you stand by and you say and do nothing. I'm sick of it.
me too.
And
It doesn't matter what party you are.
I enjoy seeing this country ripped apart. I grew up during Vietnam. It's deja vu for me what's going on today. Why don't you do something? Why don't you stand up and say, enough is enough?
You fought for us. Thank you. Now you fight for us.
That's right. You want to fight, and the Democrats, I'm one. You know, Trump said we're the enemy within. Really? You say
Me?
nothing.
Me? That means us. We're the enemy, right?
But-
What is that?
He has a love fest with Putin.
Yeah. They have something going on. You need to watch
Stand
that.
up and do something, sir. You wanted to fight, you're gonna get it.
Does the buck stop with Charles Grassley?
Us in the military are suckers
I
and
wanna-
losers.
I want to respond to what he said, because he spoke about my adherence to some sort of right-wing philosophy, whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
So I want to tell you, just last Thursday, a bill passed the United States Senate, 86-12, that I sponsored and that I got out. If you don't work in a bipartisan way, nothing gets done in the United States Senate. And so you don't have to take my word for it. I want to have all of you go to the Georgetown University website and click on Senator Lugar's center. They do an annual survey of people working in a bipartisan way, and you'll find me in the top 12 of people working in a bipartisan way, which I think refutes what he said about my being just a right-winger.
You're right.
I'm not standing up for my cow.
See,
Evidence towards
Behind
it, sir.
go ahead, sir. Say what, if you weren't done, repeat what you just said. I didn't hear it.
I'm done.
Okay.
Senator behind
Right
you.
here.
See,
Miss Grassley.
how about you way in the back?
I want to first of all say that I have a background that includes having been on the congressional staff in the state of Iowa for 10 and a half years. I worked for Social Security for another 20 years. I've been retired now for a while. I am very, very concerned about what's going on with Musk and Social Security as well as other agencies. Let me go back and say, understand that Social Security is based on what we've worked and paid into the system. It's not SSI, which is a different program administered by Social Security. Social Security protects not only those who are retired, it also protects those who die young and leave young children behind. There are almost as many children receiving Social Security because of parents who passed away or disabled parents as there are adults receiving Social Security. It also covers people who have a child who was born disabled or became disabled and is never able to work as an adult. Those children receive survivor benefits or benefits when the parent retires. Social Security currently has about a 1% administrative cost. Okay, it looks to me like, looking at this, and I've seen this over the years, staff continues to be reduced. The wait times for people to get service continues to increase. They continue to push people onto the internet to file for benefits. I'm sorry, but Social Security is not necessarily a simple program. There is a benefit to people to come in and talk to someone and understand what their options are before they take that retirement benefit. Because they will live with that decision for the rest of their lives. I retired from Social Security partially because I was no longer allowed to give the service that I thought people deserved. And I'm proud of my government service. I know it's not popular to be a government employee right now.
I'm proud of it too.
But I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what I provided. Now to see that Musk is trying to get his little gurus with their little computers into Social Security to access all of our personal information,
That's right.
that is not right.
That's
And I don't
scary.
care if you turn around and tell me, don't worry, it's read only. I've seen your comment before where you said, don't worry about what they're getting at Treasury, it's read only. Why do you think we have paper shredder trucks that come around to get rid of our paper documents? Because read only is still putting our benefit, our information at risk. But my point is, we're now seeing that we don't want people to call on the phone to change their direct deposit. Go to a local office. Try to get an appointment at a local office. Right now, you're waiting a month, and we're going to cut more staff. This is not right. If any, and we do not want to see Social Security privatized. I know for years and years and years, there are companies out there that want to take over and they want to charge. They want to charge to access benefits. You know, they want to charge for that application. So what I want from you is a commitment that you're going to defend Social Security as a government agency. I want your commitment that you are going to try to get better staffing so that it can serve people the way it was intended to do.
You have that commitment to me, and I have talked to the new administrator in my office. He's up for confirmation in the United States Senate, and I made exactly those same points to you that he made to me, because I see it all the time in my office, people coming to my office to get help. And by the way, I can't even help you as an individual until you sign a privacy release statement for me to get into your account to help you. So obviously, the law protects you and anybody else, and that's, in fact, we recently had a district court decision that said exactly that. But one of the problems is that just before Biden left office, he signed a union contract for people to work from home. Now this new administration's coming in, and they're going to have to be in the office.
Boo!
So they can give that service.
Senator, behind you.
Let's see.
Behind you.
You.
Yeah, I've got two items. Thank you for coming today.
Yes, thank you.
The policy about efficiency and cutting waste in government. I think you'd ask anybody in the country, is there waste in government we'd like it to be addressed? I think we'd say yes.
Yep.
Elizabeth Warren sent a letter to Musk in December highlighting at least 20 areas she thought should be cut. That was the thoughtful, thought-out analysis of how this could be cut. Musk is out there like a 2-year-old with a pile of blocks going, I don't like it, let's do away with it. You know, I'd like to see an adult approach taken, so here's an action item for you to take back, Senator Grassley, is put together a bipartisan committee to look at waste in government. That would include both Democrats and Republicans, and put them to work. So we might assume that's not going to be really fast, but I hope it would be effective. I think what's happening now is ineffective, and it's hurting people.
Yes.
My second item is arresting people and deporting them without due process of law. Germany, and that did not go well. I'd like to see you stop that.
Yep.
Yeah.
on to the next person.
At the end of the last legislative session,
Good. Talk louder, will you please?
I've kind of got a frog in my throat or whatever this is.
I'll get closer.
But yes, at the end of the last legislative session, you passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which part of that involved the IRS. It was handing out lots and lots of money to government agencies, part of which went to the IRS, which immediately created new rules that would regulate partnerships and how you can claim expenses for partnerships on your taxes. Partnerships are important to us here in Iowa, not because they're big corporations or big businesses, but an awful lot of our small businesses, and particularly our farms, are partnerships. What the IRS has done is create a new unit that is now requiring us to provide the same information we already send into the IRS, but instead of doing it once now, they're asking us to send it to multiple places in the IRS. And if we don't do this right, we can be fined up to $20,000 per error or whatever, what they're claiming is an error. That adds up a lot. Now, if we have a big business that has lots of accountants working for us year-round, that's not a big problem. And yeah, we can look and we can find this fraud like everybody agrees we should be finding. But most of the farmers I know, and we have a small farm in our family, we have enough trouble figuring out how we're going to pay for our seeds, get it in the ground, and get it out without spending our time sending the same information to the IRS 5 or 6 different times. And they're asking us to keep track of every transaction we have of selling partnership property for up to 10 years. Now, that's a lot of bookkeeping, even for a small business like most of our small farms are on those transactions. This is one place we'd like for you to look at and see. We've been rolling back a lot of rules and regulations that were passed under the old administration. We'd like some help here with the IRS. I'm not sure how hiring a large new unit of people just to investigate small businesses is really affecting inflation or reducing inflation. Appreciate your help. Okay. And we appreciate you having the courage to be here and talk to us today. Not a lot of people are doing that.
His bringing up the IRS gets me back to the previous question, because the lady asked about the Department of Government Efficiency. And one of the things that the Department of Government Efficiency is looking into is upgrading the IRS's IT. It's about 50 years old. And they found that in 1990, Congress said get it updated by 1996, and they're always 5 years behind. And so they're going into the Department of Treasury to try to get it done, and it's still 5 years off. They want to get it done, so after 30 years you'd think that we'd have a modern IT system for IRS, so people could get answers to the questions more effectively, and probably collect a lot of tax money that isn't being collected. The lady sitting right there.
Thank you. I would like to focus on...
Just a minute, please. Just a minute, so I can hear you. Go ahead.
I echo the broad concerns that are being voiced in this room, because I think they are the root of the problem. You also need to hear these specific recommendations, these specific concerns, and I want to bring one regarding the local food programs that the USDA has been supporting. Local Food Purchasing Assistance, LFPA, and Local Food for Schools. They have been extremely effective. Iowa has been recognized as a national leader. It is helping to address food access issues through food system development. It is encouraging rural economic development, and it was just ruthlessly cut. $11.3 million that had been promised for the next 3 years. Farmers have works in place for this season. Livestock farmers have obviously been looking a couple of years down the road. You're going to be working on the Farm Bill. I urge you to take action and reinsert support for LFPA and LFS in the Farm Bill. And I also wish you would take Margaret's suggestion and give her a more direct answer on her recommendation for putting a bipartisan committee together to look at addressing the issues. But first of all, I want you to respond to my urging about LFPA and LFS.
I cried. I could probably give you a more definitive answer in 30 days for this reason. That most new presidents going in stop regulation writing, put a hold on a lot of things for about 90 days. And I don't know whether this money is going to be frozen forever or they're just reviewing it, but I can't see a nutrition program being hurt by anything the Department of.
It's happening.
So,
the USDA has cut the program, and it is probably among of the different kinds of issues that are being brought in the federal courts that the courts are putting stays on these things. This hasn't been acted on this one in particular that I'm aware of, but it's a pattern. The courts act and they put temporary stays, but that doesn't stop the Trump administration. They continue to say no. So what are our recourses? It comes back to congressional oversight. All of these things come back to you have responsibility, and oversight has long time been your champion. And again, thank you for hearing, because we are upset, and this conversation is really important.
That's right.
you said I didn't answer your question, so I want to do that.
They're not doing the job.
Microphone.
I want to avoid it.
Will not stand up.
I would,
Microphone.
I would,
Thank you.
what you suggested is something that's sometimes done, but if every committee in the United States Congress is bipartisan, and every committee has a responsibility to do oversight in those areas of the government that are covered by theirs. So in my particular case, that's the FBI, that's the Department of Justice. Another committee I serve on would be HHS, trade legislation, things of that nature. Every committee has a responsibility of doing oversight. I don't think it gets the attention that it should, and that's why I think I have developed such a reputation of being so cognizant on oversight. And I'll give you an example. When the new Attorney General came to my office for a pre-session on whether I should vote for her for confirmation, I gave her a packet of about that thick of 158 letters that I had sent to the Department of Justice and or the FBI that had not been answered in the previous administration. And I said, the first thing I want you to do is get me answers to these letters. So there's at least 158 different things that I've written in my oversight responsibility to make sure that the Justice Department does what the law says any president of the United States should do, is faithfully execute the law. That's what I'm I'm saying to you, every committee of Congress is what you're asking us to do.
Well, Senator,
You voted for Cash Patel?
If that's been operational and we still feel there's waste in government, something needs to be done in addition or otherwise. And so this Department of Government Efficiency, which I don't understand why it can be called a department, but anyway, it's headed by someone with gross conflict of interest.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Tremendous billion-dollar government contracts, saving waste in the government. It seems inappropriate, but it's clearly not bipartisan.
That's right.
To check that, not Doge.
Thanks for coming, and I guess what I'm trying to figure out is Trump continues to ignore court orders. Yeah. And nothing happens. I can tell you what would happen if any of us.
That's right.
I don't understand. You say you're not above the law. I say no.
That's right.
It's gone too far when the Constitution.
Nobody's above the law.
Well, then.
Prove it! Hard, I should know you've been having, I'll bet your arm's worn out.
Well, we actually kind of know each other. You tried to recruit me in the late '70s at UNI help you with your campaigns. You were just starting, and I said, you said, what are you? I said, I don't know, Democrat, Republican, I said, I don't know. Well, anyway, I'm still kind of I don't know, until I've seen what's happened in our country since Trump has even taken office. But what I want to do is I want to tell you that I went in and read your record, because I have always looked up to you. I'm a teacher. I was born in Northwest Iowa, that's where I came from right now, because I moved back home. But I taught for 35 years, okay, for Wapsie Valley, if you know where that's at.
Yeah.
The bee dike and larger too often.
Yeah, that one. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, I went through and read your record, and I was always so proud of you. I mean, I know I was basically Democrat, but you stood up for me. And I always felt that you were the one who would say, tell them like it is. And I thought, okay, what was your oath to office? And do you know it? Because I would like to read it. Because when you took that oath, Senator Grassley, you took it for me. You promised me these things. Do you know the oath, buddy?
Not by heart, no.
But I want to tell you before I go any further, thank you for sticking up for us years before. We're not getting that. All right, here's the oath, because I want you to consider this, because this is what I feel it's all about. We can talk about any issue, but if we don't have a democracy, and it's going down the tubes.
We don't live in a democracy.
You said that do you want me to do it?
No.
I, Chuck Grassley,
No.
I, Chuck Grassley, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution
You're not doing
of the
that.
United States and against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I'm telling you from the bottom of my heart, and I know what things going. I think you got a problem with Russia. Infiltrating. But everything I'm seeing, I'm just saying, I'm not a conspiracy theory. I don't like to even hear a conspiracy theory. But then you went on to say, that I will bear the faith and allegiance to the same. Meaning that you're going to support that Constitution, the law inside of that, which would protect me. And Senator Grassley, I'm 70. And I am more scared today than I've ever been.
That's right.
And I don't care if you're a Trump supporter or not, the man has divided us.
That's
And he's
right.
taken someone like you that I've looked up to all my life. You don't speak for us.
Nope.
You're not saying don't do this. Like you should have known about this Iowa bill, where they took food from our kids, from the farmers they promised to do.
Quit punching down.
But anyway, Senator Preston, please read that again. Please read it because it finally ends with, after it says, I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of which I'm about to enter. So help me, God. And I think the president's is different. That's the only one that's different. But please, can we have you back? Can we have you supporting
Just need
all
someone else.
Iowans? I'm an independent, but no more Republicans.
that job.
A lot of us are getting that way.
Yeah.
It's all Fox News. And I'm sorry, I know all about propaganda. I taught it. That is the most propagandist channel ever. The methods they use, I could tell you, could break it apart. They take a good word and they make it bad. Or Trump takes a bad word and suddenly the disruption we're having in Washington, D.C. is he calls flexibility. I was a teacher, I'll tell you about what flexibility is. And it certainly isn't this. And he calls liberals, which means liberty. Right? Comes from the base word liberty. Laws. They make us sound awful. And why would anyone want to be a liberal? You're protecting the Constitution and everyone else's rights, correct? Then they call us woke, which is what Christ taught me to be. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't want to bring religion in, because I believe there's really a definition between separation of church and state. But woke is also such a great word. It's looking for you out for your brothers. Why do you even get interviewed on there? I about went through up when I saw you on there one day.
Don't do that.
Sorry.
We've got time for 2 more questions.
Behind you.
Okay, can you have,
Young lady, yes, you.
I want to go back to education a little bit.
Yes, please do.
You had said that special ed students were not going to be harmed, there's a lot of land and all that. But there are 17 states, including Iowa, with the Attorney General that you mentioned, filing a lawsuit right now to get rid of Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, which would end protections for students on IEPs and 504 plans.
Yep.
I, as a teacher and a mother of a student who will be on a 504 next year when she enters kindergarten, am very scared and nervous about that.
Me too.
I am scared
So
for the
what are you
schools.
going to do to protect those students?
Describe 504 for me, please?
So my daughter will be on a 504. She has nystagmus and has already had 2 eye surgeries, and she's only 5. She does this like head tilt thing, so the 504 would give her preferential seating and the ability to have larger font books to be able to learn to read.
And is there there's a case going on being filed?
There's a lawsuit, including Iowa, being filed to end those protections because of this one statement in there that says something about transgender. Well, they want to call the whole thing unconstitutional.
Okay. Well, first of all, whatever your background is by race, by religion, by sex orientation, by nationality, all those things have to be respected as an individual.
Not in this.
You have to respect them.
Not in our state.
You have to respect them as individuals, okay?
Law says you don't.
Then,
I wanted to.
is this being done under state law, which I won't comment on, or is it being done under federal law? Federal? Okay. Well, then, if you're worried about the IDEA law being enforced, if it's the one for special education, I voted for that in 1976. I stand by it. I'm the father of the area education agencies that passed the Iowa legislature. My last year there in 1974. And so I support making sure that in my lexicon, we use the word mainstreaming. Students should be mainstreamed. They should not be segregated.
Well,
That's where I'm coming from.
That's been done for years.
Can you wait and repeat that when everybody else is quiet?
What are you going to do when this
Well, I can't.
this law is being called unconstitutional?
As we've talked about here, there's 3 branches of government. If this is in the courts, that's where it's going to have to be decided.
Well, they're not doing
Okay.
it.
But you don't get it, do you? What, you do not get it?
No, they're.
See, you haven't asked a question yet.
Time to resign.
Mr. Senator, my name is Kyla. I'd like to introduce myself. Thank you for your service. You have served 66 years, I believe it is. I'm 55. I know it's 44 in DC. My question is, I represent the L of the LGBTQIA community, and we are scared.
Yep.
Our state is stripping rights away from individuals. And Mr. President that we have would like to take rights away from us. How are you going to protect my marriage to my wife that should not impact any of you? I don't care what anybody's religion is. My marriage does not impact your religion. My marriage does not impact your life. I would like to know from you how you are going to protect Iowans and people in the United States from having their rights stripped away because we happen to be a marginalized community called the LGBTQIA community, how are you gonna stand up and protect us so that we don't feel like we are going to be abused, need to leave the country, going to be jailed because of who we are, going to lose our jobs, going to lose our homes, have children taken away. Our rights are under fire right now, and please, I'm begging you to tell me how you are going to protect me as your constituent from these atrocities that are coming towards us.
That's right.
I am afraid of what's happening.
Yep, me too.
And I don't want to live in fear. I'm 55 years old. I respected you tremendously when I was younger. I met with you individually in your office when I was student ambassador getting ready to go to Europe. I went to East Germany when we still had 2 Germanys. I met with you before that and I was very impressed. Right now, if I had that opportunity again, I don't know how impressed I would be if somebody told me I could meet with you individually. And that bothers me because you were voted in to represent me and everyone else in this room.
Not Trump.
And I want to know how you're going to protect me and not be embarrassed by what's happening.
First, you need to know that some of the best staff people I've had have been people that come from your background.
Thank you.
You said have.
Do you still have members of the LGBT?
And more than one. And in regard to your marriage, the Constitution, under the Supreme Court decision, protects you. And the only way that can be changed, since it's a constitutional decision and not an interpretation of a statute, you'd have to amend the Constitution, and you're not going to get a 2/3 vote to do it. In fact, I'll bet you won't even have a proposal before the United States Congress of overturning that Supreme Court decision. Thank you all very much for being here.
Thank you.
Tax the rich! 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 Tax the rich!
Sick of hearing about their fair share, how about they just pay any?
Get that